Greetings, audience. Today we are back with another episode. Welcome, Jayaji, to our episode once again. It's a great pleasure talking to you again on the frame of Fireside HR Exploration.
Thank you, Tejasvi, and pleasure is mine.
Yeah.
Every time you invite me, I feel very happy to share with the audience whatever I know. And thank you for helping me share with the world. Appreciate it.
Really nice. Great. So today's fireside question that we have is maybe about the what kind of values and ethics rule out in the HR workplace, like HR space. To be more specific, does HR always follows laws and regulations? If they come across any such situations where morality comes into picture, then what will they take off the HR? What will HR do? What has to be done from HR's end? That is more about law and the value system, which has to be preferred. So we would like to hear from you, your comments and your examples.
Sure, I can do that. And every time you ask me questions, I wonder how you generate them because they are really good, tricky questions, right? The need of the hour questions, I would say. They're not very generic, they're very specific. You really want to know how it is getting done. That really shows your thirst for knowledge. Tejasvi, I really appreciate that.
Yeah, wow, that's great. Good to hear from you.
Yes. So before we get to tell, does HR prioritize policies over values or values over policies? My style of discussion is defining the basic terms first. So we all are on the same page, and then I can share what my views are. So when we say policies, right, typically any organization will have a set of policies.
Exactly.
And those policies are written in compliance with the state laws, federal laws.
Yes.
Now, those policies are basically the guidelines for an organization to function.
Yes.
Meaning, if those guidelines don't exist, an organization will have chaotic behavior throughout the day.
Exactly.
It's more like traffic signal, right? We all can say we are civilized citizens, we love each other, but we all know our actual sense of citizenship when the traffic signal goes for a toss, right? For a minute or so, if the signal doesn't work, how chaotic the road becomes.
Exactly.
So that's the significance all the policies bring to the organization. They ensure consistency, they ensure fairness, they ensure there is no chaotic situation. That's about policies, or which you call as laws and regulations, right? To put it simply, they are called policies because we don't inherit laws and regulations directly into an organization. We write them as policies, which may have references and compliance to different types of legal aspects, right?
Exactly.
That is with respect to, the policies. Then let's talk about the values.
Exactly.
So what are values? Values are basically the foundational beliefs.
Yes.
Values are nothing but guiding principles. Ideally speaking, organizational values are the ones that define how the organization has to make decisions. How the organization should behave. Right? So if you see, those guidelines or guiding principles are to be baked when the policies are designed.
Yes.
Ideally speaking, we should not be seeing policies and values as two different elements. A mature organization will have the values embedded into the policies. So any and all walks of HR life, organization life will speak those values. That's theory.
Okay.
Now, what are the values we are talking about? Typically, the values are nothing but Tejasvi, the typical template for organization values, I'm saying, right? Some organization may have a plus or minus of this, but typically organizations will have values such as respect,
Yes. True.
integrity,
Collaboration.
transparency, Yeah. Transparency, social responsibility,
Yes, empathy.
inclusion, empathy, customer service. These are all the guiding principles.
And loyalty.
Loyalty, yes.
Hmm.
So these are the guiding principles that usually any organization or most of the organizations will have to run and protect their business.
Yes.
So they will be baked into the policies naturally.
Yes, true.
Ideally. So now we have discussed these two definitions, right?
Yeah.
Now, before I answer, do we prioritize this over the other? I want to give you some context on how HR has evolved over centuries. If you see pre-18th century, there was no such HR department.
Yes.
Yeah. So we did not have any specific personnel department.
Oh.
The basic human resource capital management started around the colonial times. It's called Industrial Revolution time.
Yes.
Which is around 18th century. So what they did was Tejasvi, the human resource capital or the human resource management unit was formed because the factory owners needed to hire and train many workers quickly. All the factory owners were in haste. They wanted to quickly hire and train people. In fact, those days, Tejasvi, the working hours of the workers were above 16 hours a day. That's mandatory. And 7 days a week. That is fine. In fact, the working conditions were much worse than what existed during medieval times, which is 500 AD to 1500. So during those times, worst working conditions existed. Much worse than that existed during this 18th century. So the factory owners wanted those workers to be administered with payroll. Only with that purpose, the HR got started. And when that was happening, some of the factory owners realized that satisfied workers produced more results. Their close observations on some workers, they found that they produced more results and impact when they were satisfied. Then these owners thought they should introduce some programs to keep them more motivated and more engaged. And not just that, they wanted to regulate the working conditions because some of the workers were really, really exemplary in nature.
Yes.
So this added a lot of operational variables into the system. So the factory owners wanted to enhance the existing human capital management to a different elevated department which could also take care of entirety of personnel management. Now you see we are going to next level, right?
Exactly.
Unit which got started as a plain function to take care of payroll, hiring payroll.
Yes.
Moving into a complete personnel, management. At this time, what they started doing was, this I'm talking about year 1900 to 1960. So at this time, the personnel management essentially took care of, administrative HR activities such as tracking employee records, talent management.
Activities.
Yeah. Talent management, staffing retention, monitoring the performance appraisal process, and implementing workplace safety, training, and anti-discrimination programs. All these activities started to function from 1900 onwards. Yeah. And then came improvement and introduction of motivational aspects. Until then, whatever an employee could bring, it was brought to the table, they were paid for it. Then came a period where they wanted to improve the behavioral aspects of employees.
Okay.
The term human resources came into picture, and the term became popular in 20th century. Right? So the evolution of human resource management now goes with activities such as achievement management, achievement motivation, affiliation, or self-actualization. If you know the HR philosophers, Abraham Maslow, McGregor,
Exactly.
all these people demonstrated the need for motivation / achievement / self-actualization, because they thought there are definitely good number of employees who work for not just money but for something more.
Yes.
That recognition itself happened only in the 20th century. Right? And then what happened? It moved on to strategic HR part.
Yes.
Until HR was just a human resource capital management unit, handling payroll to employee relations to basic administrative activities. Then comes the era where HR is looked at as an integral part of senior management team, senior
Exactly.
management organization, where HR helps the company with overall strategy, identification, and execution.
True.
Yeah. So this is the era where we talk about employee engagement, organization culture,
And moreover,
etc.
now HRs are becoming coaches and mentors. There are no like supervisors or managers or something. They are now acting as coaches and facilitators for the employees to motivate and be as a torchbearer for them.
That's true. That's true. So they are no longer looking for managers who can get deliverables out of resources. They're looking for coaches who can find the hidden potential of employees and make them deliver much more than what they thought they were capacitized to deliver.
True.
So why am I talking about the HR evolution now? What is the context? The context is Tejasvi. As you see how it evolved in its 500 to 1500 AD to 18th century to 20th century, etc. And now we are talking about post-pandemic situation.
Yes.
Right? So we only know now uncertainty. If there is one thing that is constant, that is change.
Yes, true. And we should make it imperative.
Exactly. If there is one thing that is another constant is complexity, ambiguity. So all these dynamics require HR to be much more than a bunch of administrators.
True.
They have to be people advocates. They have to be digitally proficient. They have to be data literates.
Yes.
They have to have business acumen. Without people advocacy, data literacy, digital proficiency, business acumen, it's very difficult for HR to help the business achieve its mission.
True.
If HR requires a seat when the senior leaders are sitting and discussing business strategy, unless the HR brings all these 4 combinations, they'll be outside the door.
True.
Right? Now HR is evolving, definitely. Not at a pace it could have been, but definitely to a satisfactory level, HR is evolving. Now, what is that we are trying to address now? So, will HR prioritize policies over values? Right? So, that
in this note, I have one quick question on this. Like, different organizations have different values. More or less, they are similar. What I understand.
Yeah.
Now, the individual value system is much more differing. They differ from individual mindset or psychological behavior or something. Now, if an individual can switch on from one organization to the another or enters into a different zone of the organization, like if we consider Eastern or European countries other than India, they have some different value system and all. Then how that individual can be accommodated onto that value system Is it like
Yeah.
that there also value suppresses on the individual value systems, and how that can be consumed over the period of time, and how that can be inculcated into the candidate if HR has to play that role?
See, value system predominantly will be the same,
Hmm.
Tejasvi. Predominantly, it's a template.
Yes.
It's a template, right? So you have to have integrity as a value. You
Hmm.
have to have respect, knowledge over hierarchy as a value. You have to have accountability as a value, empathy as a value, social responsibility as a value. Now, what I was trying to tell was when HR was just evolving, a lot of these values were not in place at all.
Hmm.
They had rudimentary, basic policies in place. As they started to face issues around human relations, employee relations, discrimination, new procedures came into picture. Now, then when policies did not exist, values drove some of the decisions. For example, 10 years back, if you ask, did people even know what is FH, which is work from home? Not
Yeah.
many knew.
That's
Today,
true.
work from home is a given thing. It's a privilege. It's a
Yes.
right to, right? So 15 years back, not many knew the term work from home because the policies did not support that.
Yeah, exactly.
Though there may have been needs from employees of having the support for work from home, they didn't know that they could even ask this way. They would take leave. If they had to attend, if they had to attend a wedding, or if they had to attend their children's parent-teachers meeting, they would just take leave.
Yes.
Today, they don't have to. All they have to do is attend the meeting, attend the wedding, come back, stretch additional hours, take care of them.
Yes.
Today, the values and the policies support.
Exactly.
Back then, it was not the case. So, what I'm trying to say is, as the dynamics around us come into picture, as the uncertainties evolve, the HR policies, values also mature over time. What was then a priority over policy versus value is today given, in the sense, those days policies did not support work from home.
Exactly.
So HR could not approve, hey, can I take 2 hours permission paid? They would say, sorry, you have to, you cannot take it paid. You can take it unpaid. So those days policies did not support.
Yes, exactly.
So the employees would feel frustrated.
Yes.
It's not that only now we have personal needs. Our personal needs for attending children education, weddings, and hospital and visits, they all existed even then.
Yes.
Unfortunately, policies did not support, but values existed, which is giving the ears for employees, being empathetic with them,
Yes.
listening to their needs. Right now. Then those days when policies did not exist or were not very popular, there were some people who still supported the needs. Though policies did not exist.
Fine.
I can speak for myself. Like, I was in a program where I was given 2 days work from home back in 2013, 2012.
Oh.
At that time, work from home was not even
Yes.
in the policy. It was there in the policy, but very, very, very basic level, subject to the discretion of your manager. Which manager will support that?
Yes, exactly.
So, because it was a very, very generic guideline, hey, you can take it, but your manager has to approve. No manager would approve.
Exactly.
Because they would think, if they do that, what if people misuse? It'll all be on me. They would not approve. But back then, I had approved work from home for my junior employees also. And they would come and ask me, Jaya, how are you doing? I said, it's my discretion. I want to use the policy to empower people. I want to read the policy from a positive light. If you want to read that from a scary light, then you can't really approve of that. But I want to take liberty and read better and then provide the support for my employees, right?
Yes.
So what I'm trying to say is, Tejasvi, there were still some employees who existed, looked at the policies from a positive point of view, tried to apply their judgment, embedded the values, and provided support. So morally also they were right, compliance wise also they were right. They were the favorite managers of many employees, at the same time favorite employees of the HRs. So to put it in a nutshell, whether it is values over policies or policies over values, it all depends upon who reads the policies.
Exactly.
So many cases, HR is the custodian of the entire organization policies, right?
Oh, yes,
HR is the
exactly.
custodian. But HR has empowered all the functional managers to apply discretion and implement those policies.
True.
Mature managers would implement them maturely. Immature managers would not implement them.
Yes.
And the victims are nothing but the employees. So it's not about is HR prioritizing policies over values or values over policies. It is not generically HR. It is who is playing the role of HR, what is their maturity level, what is their exposure level to people, how intelligent are they emotionally, how much they really care for the employees, how much do they understand of human needs. That defines will the HR come across supportive or non-supportive. I have seen many bookworms. Hey, this is what policy number 2.A says. As per line number 12, we can't do this.
And
Period.
those are
There is no
all
discussion
policies
after
are
that.
subjected to labor laws and code of conduct, which we already have.
Yeah.
And there is
Yeah.
many, more or less, laws are made for in the code of discretion of justice itself. In the
Yeah.
bars of code. There is no any
Yeah.
value system lying there. But
Yeah.
as a personnel, HR has to understand what is being correct and what is behind the bars to make
Yeah.
it more position for the employees in types of enriching them and nourishing them to achieve
Yeah.
targets or to fulfill the organization goals and individual development as well. That's
Very true.
what I
Very
understand.
true. Very true. I can give you some specifics, Tejasvi, right? Why I'm talking about it's about who is playing the HR role. It's about who is playing the functional reporting manager. It's more about that, less about the policy/values.
Yes.
Because there are really mature managers and leaders who don't have to be told this is how you should run the operations. They have common sense, right? They have integrity.
Yes.
And they have all these human values. They will run better than those who have got the bookish knowledge.
Yes, exactly.
Right? There are many people who run their show with common sense and wisdom. There are many people who run their shows with bookish knowledge and the OMS, whatever you talk about, right? You will find the vivid difference between these two.
Yes, exactly.
Another one could be, yes, there are cases where policies are prioritized over values. For example, hiring is a great place to talk about, right? Ideally speaking, you should not show favoritism.
Yes.
When you have an open position, you are supposed to advertise to everybody.
Yeah.
And whoever applies, I'm talking about internal job posting, Tejasvi, right? I'm not talking about external hiring for now. In an organization, there is an open position coming up, and you as a hiring manager, you post it. So people can apply.
Yes.
I tell you where integrity starts. Integrity starts right from when you define your job description.
True.
If you as a hiring manager already planned your team member as successor for the role, you will word the job description in a way that only your successor can understand, only he or she will apply. Nobody will dare to apply because for them it is scary lines. So you will already tie up with your successor, hey, I will word it this way, you apply. Everybody else will stop applying. So integrity starts there, right?
Exactly.
Your job description should welcome people to apply, not scare them to apply. So here integrity failed. Okay. Number 2, people start applying. Either people do blind matching of keywords. Hey, this word is not there, then this profile is disqualified. They don't really put time to read through the profile to understand hey, this person has done this. Maybe given the opportunity, this person may do this also. That patience and trust people don't have. They want everything to be readily available. So there, half the resumes get cut. Then comes interview, which is mostly for eyewash purposes, right? And then you do the interview, but you still select who you wanted to select. Now tell me, as far as HR is concerned, this hiring manager, which is you, have followed all the processes. As far as process compliance is concerned, Tejasvi has put a tick mark on all the processes. But integrity is an utter flaw. In many cases, HR knows this, but they go closed eye and deaf ear. This is a place, a frustrating place where they, in this case, value is known, what is right. Policy also says what is right. It's a practice. So there is something more than the value and policy, which is practice.
Yes.
Demonstration of that value and policy in your
Together.
practice, that gets missed out. So if I'm talking about hiring as one of the examples where policy might say something, when people demonstrate, they may demonstrate as if they adhere to the policy 100%, but integrity is a miss. Only a smart HR can see that and say, hey, you have done a wrong thing. I want to check everything. They won't question, because if they question, then the hiring manager will say, sorry, you're doubting us. Number two, sorry, we can't deliver. Then the business priorities will suffer. For that reason, HRs go quiet. This is one situation where value says integrity. Policies say follow the processes, but practice is a big time mess because they haven't really demonstrated that.
Yes.
Another example could be inclusion. A company may have a value called inclusion.
Yes.
Let's be inclusive, right? They will talk about diversity, inclusion, equity everywhere. It's in fact used as per a particular statistics, Tejasvi. DIB, diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, is used as a marketing strategy to attract talent. And many of them don't even attempt a bit of accomplishing that. They use it because they have to put a tick mark, right? It's a social responsibility too. Diversity is the most talked about topic in the world of labor.
Yes, exactly.
So there too, what they say, let's be inclusive, let's have all genders equally looked at. They will talk everything. When it comes to result, you will find the percentage to be still broader at the bottom level. As the pyramid goes up, you will see the women in the leadership level and the women in the C-suite level to be thinning down. How is it happening? If you're truly inclusive, if your organization value is inclusive, and if your policies support that, how come there is a gap in this leadership level between the men to women ratio? Right? Yeah, there are plenty of cases where values are just in the book and the policies are just shown as if it's practiced. But the theory is that the reality is that not in many cases. So again, I wouldn't say completely everybody is deviating from the value and everybody is deviating from the policy pages. Back to my initial point, it all depends upon who holds the pen.
Yes.
The pen holder writes a story. Right? So if the policy is read by a mature person, he or she will add more enhancers to the policy. They will add more beauty to the policy. But if the policy is read and implemented by an immature person, doesn't matter whether they're HR or hiring manager or a leader or a C-suite person, depending upon what their maturity level, their actions will reflect the same thing.
True, exactly.
Another example to give, for example, an organization policy might say, hey, we want the productivity to be high, right? We want X number of sales to be done by the salespeople.
Yes.
This quarter, and double that in next quarter, triple that in third quarter. Assume for a moment this is what the policy around the productivity / performance appraisal. Only then we will look at you as a top achiever, right? Now, what happens? Yeah, people try their best to engage and produce and deliver, but there are cases where they may not be able to fetch the results expected by the policies. Then they get to unethical practices. I think Fargo, an organization, they had an issue in 2016. It became a big scandal and scam. It showed how the employees started creating fake accounts as if they sold already. Credit card fake accounts, and then the HR was aware that employees were creating fake accounts, but nothing much they could do. When it was brought to public notice is when they realized that the policies were so strict and compelling in nature that employees did not have a way out except faking the numbers or adopting malpractices. So I wouldn't generically say it is this way here, it is that way here. Yeah, everybody prioritizes policies over values. Everybody
Practice is
prioritizes
important.
policies.
Practice and demonstration of what has to be happen in reality.
Yeah,
is the game.
Practice is key. Yeah, Tejasvi. Practice is key. But more than that, the point I'm trying to drive is who is doing that? Who is the custodian? Whose hands the policies remain with? Who are your HRs? Who are your employees? I think I mentioned in the previous interview where, as per Gallup, in any organization,
Yes.
whether it is banking, finance, insurance, hospitality, agriculture, movie, IT
We have
enabled
different
services.
kind of employees.
Yeah, actively engaged is only 20%, 20 to 23%.
Yes.
They have the highest level of emotional intelligence. They have the highest level of resilience. They'll have the highest level of failures also, but they still know how to get up gracefully.
Yes, exactly.
Whereas the remaining 10% is actively disengaged, and the middle belly is around 60%, which is not engaged at all.
True.
So if you ask me, if your employee segment, whether it is HR or hiring managers, if they belong to the 20-23% category, then obviously they will have the values and policies rightly merged, rightly practiced. Come what may be the circumstances.
Yes.
They don't belong to the 23% category, then there is always a chance, bigger chance that policies are, just ticked and values are completely buried down.
True. That is very great and enriching to have such a great discussion with you on how the practice, laws, principles, and value systems are all integrated together. It's very nice to connect with you again, to have such a fireside communication again on HR exploration.
Thank you. So thank you, Tejasvi, for having me in this session. So I would just want to conclude this session saying that whether you are a HR or a CEO or a janitor or a computer operator, analyst, tester, doctor, I would say be sincere to the given job.